Morning everybody, welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, because today is the day that we're going to talk about this purple tomato. I just did a video about GMO seeds, and I promise you 2 days after I filmed it, edited it, and got it uploaded, the news came out. But what I said in that video still stands. But after reading about it and looking at it, I do have some thoughts about what this whole tomato is, and I want to go over that with you so we can try and maybe clear the air, see what's going on. All right, so I just want to kind of start off by saying this whole GMO topic are my opinions, and based on what research I've done in the past and stuff that I've formulated around this topic. It does not mean I am not a genetic scientist. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do feel like I know enough for myself to make an informed decision about, one, what I'm going to put into my body, and two, what I'm going to grow, and three, what I want to put out there into the world. So that being said, let's talk about this purple tomato. I got to have my phone here because I can't have everything memorized. This is the purple tomato that just came out. There's a bunch of articles about it. And there's already a GMO tomato out there that's commercially grown. It's called the Flavor Saver. But this one is a little bit different. So a lot of times when we look at these things and GMO and stuff like that, it's like I said in a previous video. If you haven't seen that, I do recommend going to watch that because there's a lot of good stuff in there. At least I feel like there is. And, you know, a lot of times what they'll have is like different pesticides, resistance and stuff like that built into the genetics of the seed so that that can be sprayed on the plants. You can spray the weed killers and stuff like that and not affect the plants. So there's a little bit to that, but this is not what this is. So this tomato that is available to the home gardeners. And I actually, in that video, there was a part that I had to take out right afterwards because I was like, well, I don't mind putting the video out, but in the video I said, I don't think in the near future there will be a GMO tomato available to home gardeners. And then 2 days later, what do we get? So there is that aspect of it. I did take that out. But this one is the one that's made by Norfolk Plant Science, and apparently it took them 20 years to hack color genes from a snapdragon flower to get into it. So right off the bat, it's got it's a purple tomato, and let me address this. I've tried to grow like black flowers and stuff like that, and if you ever look at black flowers in the sun, they're not really black. They're like a super deep purple. So right off the bat, that's what we're seeing with like regular stuff that's been bred and all this. And it's confusing, but I think what we have to remember is, one, this thing wasn't very cheap to make, okay? If they spent 20 years making it, somebody made a pretty damn good salary making it. So that means that there's a demand for it somewhere, somehow. They felt like there was a demand to invest this kind of money to see. I know the tinfoil hat is just kind of a joke in the beginning, in the thumbnail. That being said, I'm going to eliminate the conspiracy theory portion of this because I have my own thoughts, and I don't know where I sit with them yet, so I don't really feel super comfortable talking about them. But there's a demand for a purple tomato of some sort. And so we have to remember that, and there's a reason why they decided to do this. So they went on to do it, and I'm looking at my notes as I speak, so I apologize if I'm not looking right at you guys. What they did is they put, I'm gonna try and say this right, so forgive me if I say it wrong, anthocyanins. And that's the anthocyanins, whatever. That's what gives it its purple color. But it also is what is supposedly gives it like anti-cancer fighting drug, you know, boosters and extra vitamins and stuff like that. So what we're seeing here is, I don't know if I can call it genetically modified. I mean, it is genetically modified, but I think what it is it's bioengineered. So this is the scary part to me. But right before I get into that, I have to acknowledge this. I had a comment that said all of our food has been genetically modified for centuries, I believe it was, maybe decades, something like that. I think it was longer. I think it was centuries. And then, so here is what corn used to look like, and here's what the corn that we know and love looks like. Okay? Now, when you look at these, we went from this corn to this corn, not by genetically modifying, but the same way you save seeds, where you take your best looking piece of corn and you save the seed from the best plant, the best corn, produced the way you want, and then you do it again the next year, and you do it again the next year, and so on and so forth, and that's where we end up with this. And so that's not genetically modifying. That's just seed saving practice. That is, naturally doing it. Takes years and years and years to do it. Now, we do have genetically modified corn, but that's neither here nor there. So you have to understand that. A lot of our foods that we grow have been naturally selected by seed saving practices to do, and I'm sure there's a better term out there, and somebody feel free to comment about it. I'm cool with it. I'm a simple man that likes to explain things simply so people can understand it. And if I overtalk you and try and make myself sound smarter than I am, then everybody gets confused, and this is a huge waste of time. So that's where I sit with that. But when you get into bioengineering food, which is basically the practice of taking a food and trying to make it healthier than it is, it's really, really scary to me. And I think it's almost more scary than genetically modifying it, because when we genetically modify the seeds for like Roundup Ready seeds, you're just trying to get more food, right? And it's scary in itself that it's got a chemical put in it, this, that, and the other. And it's not the bioengineering portion that scares me. What scares me is a thought process behind the bioengineering that scares me. Whereas people think like, hey, our food's not healthy enough. What's been provided for us by nature, by God, whatever you want to call it, which I choose to go by God, but that's fine, is not healthy enough, and we need to try and crack that code. But then we get into the capitalist mindset of, I'm going to crack that code by selling you a pack of seeds for $2 a seed. Man, if you think about that, that's really scary, because our food's plenty healthy. The problem is we don't eat balanced diets as a whole. And I realize who I'm talking to. I'm talking to a group of homesteaders and gardeners. So I'm actually pretty sure that you eat a more diverse diet than the average person who does not grow food, is not in touch with it, that lives at McDonald's or whatever restaurant, So I do understand that. But if you just think about it as a whole, it's really scary. And I'm curious to see if you go into the Snapdragon DNA that went into it. So that's kind of like genetically modifying, because they are inserting something in. They're doing it for the color and the purple. And look, as a professional photographer, somebody who's made a TV show and a couple short movies and, YouTube channel, I can tell an oversaturated picture when I see one to produce color, and a couple of the articles, they're oversaturated, okay? So let's just get that right out of the way. That's marketing 101. It's oversaturated. I'd be curious to see what it really looks like, because I've seen a super famous seed company oversaturate all of their beautiful seed packets, to kind of give you the wrong impression. So I've seen this before. It happens a lot. But when you come down to it, this bioengineering, like, I get wanting a purple tomato for the color. I get the allure of it. I'm not really into different colored vegetables too much. I happen to like the color green in my garden, so I'm cool with it. But going and looking at it, it's scary to me that we want to take something as mundane as a tomato, where there's thousands and thousands of varieties, and now we feel the need to pack it full of nutrients and to change the way the food is grown and produced, and where it's no longer a natural food. It's no longer taken on this biological process over time and this evolutionary process of becoming what humans need to consume. And that's something that I really take caution about when I go into this subject and to growing the seed. So, I mean, I would like to know if you would be interested in growing this seed. One, just to see what it looks like, or two, if you are interested in these extra vitamins and compounds, whatever that's in it, to see if you would be interested in that, considering the fact that we know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've read the article a couple of times, but I'm sure I've missed a few things, where they didn't put anything but like DNA into it to change the color and add the vitamins. There's no man-made substances added to this seed. Honestly, I think my opinion stands at the fact that people will buy this tomato at first just to see what it's like, and then I would just hope and pray that it wouldn't catch on. And I think that it's so dangerous to start bioengineering food in a certain way. We've seen this in the vegan market with meats and stuff like that, fake meats, where it's bioengineered there's a couple companies that like basically bioengineered themselves into collapse. And they made foods more tasty, more vitamins, better for this. But then when it really comes down to it, and I do need to tell you guys, I was vegan for 10 years. And in the past 2 years, I've switched from it because of my dietary needs and my activity levels and stuff like that. So I'm 100% comfortable talking about this and don't really care any other way. But as a vegan standpoint, there's certain things that aren't provided, like as a well-rounded diet that we need as vitamins and minerals and nutrients and stuff like that, and stuff that's easier for our bodies to absorb. And the older that we get, the more challenging it gets to get things. I mean, trust me, this gray, I'm not as old as you may think, but I still am getting older, as we all are. And so I feel the need, I felt the need, and I was recommended to me strongly by a vegan doctor to start eating meat. How's that? That's kind of weird. But that just kind of shows the importance of it. So going into the bioengineering aspect, it's very curious. So I hesitate to call it GMO because of the negative connotations of herbicides and stuff being put into seeds in order to grow. That is GMO, genetically modified. And even though this is genetically modified, I'm going to go with the term bioengineered because it's a little bit cleaner, but I think it's more representative of what it is. And I think that's the important concept for me to understand what's going on here. Now, in the last video, I had a comment come up also where I really don't know what I'm talking about and I need to take a genetics class. And so first of all, I'm not taking a genetics class because I personally don't care. I have my opinions on it. I've seen the research and the studies and what's been put into the seeds, and I grow my garden the way I grow it, and I'm happy with that. So there's not going to be any genetic classes taken by me, anything like that. And again, these are my opinions. This is my experience, and this is my thought process and how I run my garden. Which brings me into the next comment that I got, which was I need to encourage people to buy seeds from a certain people. And I do need to say this just to make it clear is I don't view myself, first of all, I don't have the audience to be an influencer at all. And if I did have the audience to be an influencer, I'm not an influencer. My game is to inspire. So I want to inspire you to do things your way, and I want to educate you to do things your way. I show you my way, I tell you my way, you do what you want with that information. Whatever you grow, whatever you do, I don't care. If you want to be full organic, go for it. If you want to figure out a way to grow all genetically modified crops, that is all on you. I am cool with it. That is not my game. So please don't look at me as if I try to influence you to do anything, because that is not it. I am here to inspire and educate. And that is it. Between this platform and the Backyard Gardens podcast, that's where we stand. And that's basically the end of story. So you do what you do, and you do what you do best. But if you want some information, you like some of the stuff that I do, some of my thought processes of how I do things, then by all means, I've inspired you, and my job has been done. And that I appreciate. But this purple tomato is different, I will say. And it was super ironic that I had the feeling to talk about a GMO seed, and then just after I did the video, it came out. So it's just, I find it curious. And, you know, when he speaks quietly, but you can hear him. And he works in mysterious ways. And it's interesting. So I'm going to keep my ear to the ground and listen for more of this stuff coming out. I think once we see one, we'll see 2 and 3 and so on. And I think it will grow after that.